Let's look at how to do a 4-step inventory. The 4th step of AA or NA is to do a searching and fearless moral inventory of yourself. And this 4th step is very difficult for some. So I want to give you a little bit of guidance as to how to do this. So you're going to be looking at persons, institutions, ideas that you resent. So kind of getting your mind in the right headspace. Think about something that you resent. So what's a person, an institution, or an idea that you resent? And one of the requirements for sobriety is the need for confession of personality defects, or what we call a moral inventory. And step 4 is designed to be just that. There's a lot of hype and also a lot of fear that surrounds this step. And it's mostly created by those who are yet to do it. So the worksheets that are out there, and I'm going to give you guys some charts to work from. These are designed to make this task as easy and simple as possible. Everything that's contained in these sheets is directly from the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. There's no opinion, it's just fact. So to be able to start on this step, you obviously had to have done the first 3 steps, of course. So before starting this step, check with your sponsor, your spiritual advisor, your counselor, whoever, to make sure that you're actually ready to do this step. And a lot of people get loaded or they act out in some way when they reach this step. They're going to tell you that the pain of dredging up these memories that they've buried a long time ago, it's too much to endure. Or they're going to give any other 1,000 of excuses. But the plain and simple fact is just that the pain doesn't come from writing the inventory. The pain comes in resisting the writing. Alcoholics and addicts, time after time, would rather get loaded again and then have to, face some of these inner truths. The freedom from self is made impossible by holding on to the fears and the secrets that we've harbored all of our lives. The way of strength, paradoxically, is to become vulnerable. So here are some tips to really help you with this moral inventory. We want to try and list resentments in groups, like family in one group, schools, relationships, work in another group, etc. And if you're not sure in any area, you can call somebody and ask them for their experience here. So we want to get into the habit of writing every day, even if it's only for 10 minutes. Also, in the resentment inventory, don't write a cross. We want to do it in columns, like all names first, all causes second, etc. And lastly, just be honest. The only person to truly benefit from this exercise is you. So don't cheat yourself out of this really incredible experience. This is a list that might be helpful in your resentment inventory of people that you might hold resentments toward. Your father, your mother, stepfather, stepmother, sisters, brothers, step siblings, aunts, uncles, cousins, the clergy, the police, lawyers, judges, doctors, employers, employees, different coworkers, your in-laws, your spouse, your creditors, childhood friends, your school friends, teachers, lifelong friends, best friends, acquaintances, girlfriends, boyfriends, parole or probation officers, any 12-step friends, U.S. service friends, etc. This is a list of institutions that can be helpful in your resentment inventory. So we can look at marriage as an institution, or the Bible, or church, religion, races, law, government, authority, education system, the correctional system, mental health system, philosophy, nationality, so on. And feel free to add to these lists if you need to. And then some principles or ideas that you may have resentments towards. It may be God as a deity or retribution, the 10 Commandments, Jesus Christ, Satan, or death, life after death, heaven, hell, sin, adultery, the golden rule, original sin, the 7 deadly sins, marijuana being illegal, changing the smoking age to 21. I mean, the list can go on and on and on here. When you're doing a fear inventory, these prompts may help you determine where you have undealt with fears. So some of these, I'm not going to read this whole list, you can see them on the screen, but maybe it's God or dying or insanity or abandonment or intimacy or responsibility or maybe animals or failure or fear of the government or gangs or gossip or even fear of wealthy people or fear of guns or fear of change. So we're going to identify, when we're doing the fear inventory, we're going to identify where we currently have fears. So when you're doing the inventories for the resentments, the first column are your resentments. So this is all the people, the places, the things, institutions, ideas, principles with whom you're angry or who you have resentment towards or who you feel hurt or threatened by. Once you've listed all of those out, then you're going to do the cause. So what happened? Be specific as to why you're angry at that person, place, thing, idea, principle, whatever. In column 3, you're going to put how it affects you. How did it make you feel? Specifically, how did it affect the 7 parts of yourself? We're going to go over those in a second. And then column 4 is where was I to blame? Like, what's the truth here? Where was my responsibility in this relationship? What might I have done instead? Where was I at fault? When you're doing your fear inventory, you want to list your fears, then write about why you have each fear, and then also note whether any self-reliance has failed you. When you're doing a sexual conduct or harm done to others inventory, you want to make a list for yourself, what happened in each instance and how it made you feel. So when you're doing this inventory, you're going to need to answer what parts of self were affected. And in order to do that, you need to know what each part of self means. So when it's saying self-esteem, this is how I think of myself. Pride is how I think other people view me. My pocketbook is just my basic desire for money, property, possessions, etc. Personal relations is our relations with other people. Our ambitions are our goals, our plans, our designs for the future. Our emotional security is just a general sense of personal well-being. And sex relations is our basic drive for sexual intimacy. So when we're doing our resentments inventory, the first column is going to be what we are resentful at. So this is where we're going to list all of those people, institutions, or principles with whom we are angry. Then once we have listed all of them out, then we move on to the cause column. And this is where we're going to put why I'm angry at that person or principle or idea. Then once we've listed all of those out, then we move on to the parts of self that were hurt or threatened. Was it your self-esteem, your pride, your emotional security, your pocketbook, your ambitions, your personal relations, your sex relations? What parts of yourself were threatened for each one of those? Then we move on to where was I to blame? Was I dishonest? Was I selfish? Was I self-seeking? Was I frightened? Was I inconsiderate here? Like, what was the exact nature of your wrong? And be specific. Say, I lied to my mom. I cheated on my spouse. I manipulated the system. I stole money. Whatever it was, where you were to blame. Then when we do a sexual conduct and harm done to others inventory, first we want to list out who we hurt. Then we want to list out each thing that we did to that person. And then we want to make sure that we are writing down what we did to unjustifiably arouse something. So did we unjustifiably arouse jealousy or suspicion or bitterness? Then we want to put where we were at fault. Were we selfish, dishonest, inconsiderate? Was the relationship itself, in and of itself, selfish? And then we want to list out what should I have done instead. So in the AA big book, it says we ask God to mold our ideals and to help us live up to them. We ask God in meditation what we should do for each specific matter, and we earnestly pray for the right ideal for guidance in each questionable situation for sanity and for strength to do the right thing. And lastly, when we're doing a fear inventory, we want to just list out what we're afraid of. The AA Big Book says when we saw our fears, we listed them. And we want to list out what parts of self we've been relying on which have failed us. So were we relying on our self-esteem or our pride or our emotional security, our pocketbook, our ambitions, our personal relations, our sex relations? And that's going to help us to identify where we have failed self, leading to our fear. And the fear prayer from the Big Book says, God, please remove my fear of blank and direct my attention towards what you would have me be.